Kelly, thanks for sitting down with me today. Great to see you.
It's great to be here. Thanks, Shawn.
And to see you in Eastern Canada. I wasn't sure that those Albertans were allowed to come out to Eastern. You're allowed to come.
I broke the line between Manitoba and Ontario.
Good for you. Good for you. Kelly, you're the executive director for the Alberta Seed Growers. Big job.
Yeah.
And my first question, though, for you is, talk a little bit about your role as a soil technician. Mm-hmm. The good, the bad.
The indifferent?
The indifferent, exactly.
It's been a road to get here. And I started, if you will, in the dirt.
Well said.
From the ground up. I enjoyed working as a soil tech. I did a lot of field work. I spent a lot of time with farmers. And really you're working with the foundation of agriculture. As a Saskatchewan kid, the prairies, you come from a place where the soil was blowing during the dirty 30s. And so a lot of the programs I was involved in were soil building. And we've gone from an equipment and management culture that has evolved to now a soil building agriculture. And it's great to have been a part of that.
Well said. I know you self-identify as a prairie person, right?
Absolutely.
Prairie girl, even I might even be able to get away with saying. What does that mean to you? What does it mean to you to be a prairie girl?
In part, it wasn't until I had left home and I was doing some traveling that I realized people that come from other landscapes really don't appreciate vast expanses of grass or crop waving in the wind. We were the gap. And it's like there's a lot more to that gap. And I think the biggest thing is it's about people. The people are what make the difference in that gap. But I also do appreciate that vast landscape too.
Can you think of a picture or a time where you've really been enraptured by that scene? Where I can think of times where I've caught myself as I'm either driving down an old country road and I just catch myself seeing field upon field upon field of wheat waving in the wind, and I'm just reminded, wow, we're pretty lucky. Have you had one of those?
Oh, absolutely. I think in those instances you realize, man, I wish I was a photographer, you know, to capture that. But I have stopped. You do a lot of driving when you're in a job that takes you across the prairies. Again, it's about vastness. It's about distances between places you have to be or people you have to meet. And the opportunity to stop and appreciate it. That goes part and parcel. Gives you the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. And I think some of those best scenes have been in Alberta, where now you get to travel Alberta extensively and visit with a lot of your seed grower members. There's a lot going on in Alberta right now.
We've had a few things taking place, but it's we've built a community that we're working with, and I think we're getting somewhere.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What does this Alberta Seed Growers do to make a difference for the seed industry in Alberta?
Bottom line, it's about that communication piece between members and our national office. That's a two-way communication. We've got lots of change going on right now, and making sure that we're bringing the voice from Alberta growers through to sit at the national office, that's important. You know, there's over 50% or over 75% of the member voice comes from Western Canada, membership-wise. And we need to be heard. We have regional differences, we have different crops, we have different management styles. It's important to be heard. And so we want to make sure that we keep that communication going two ways.
Is there a role that ASGA sees themselves playing in developing the seed growers within Alberta?
Very much. We can do things on a regional basis that give growers, provide the environment for them to flourish. Currently we have legislation that is been tough on fusarium, a zero tolerance policy. Nowhere else in the country Do they have that type of legislation? It was originally designed to hold it from spreading, but an airborne pathogen can only be held back so long, and now we have to go to a phase 2 management. Working with the industry, with partners, with our own membership to provide education, awareness, help get those development or management tools that will help us manage this disease. That is something that doesn't happen on a national stage. No one else has that legislation. So that's an important role we play.
So you're suggesting that a government decree wasn't enough to stop an airborne pathogen from crossing the border? Wow.
We're finding this current administration is listening.
Awesome.
And they're working behind the scenes to get things done. So it's very encouraging. I would say I'm optimistic. I'm relatively new.
Right. Perfect. There's no short game in this.
No.
It's a long game. Of course, the next facet within the role that I think from the outside looking in see is, how does ASG engage with farmers in actually connecting the knowledge and understanding that seed growers have to farmers at large?
Well, we use a number of tools. Really, the role that ASG plays is to promote the use of pedigreed seed. Bottom line, the idea of doing that can be self-serving, and so you've got to be careful that we're talking about the benefits that pedigreed seed to an overall management plan, and incorporating that as a tool in better developing and providing a better financial picture for all producers. The tools to do that are multi. We work with Issues Inc. To produce our seed guide, and that's a really important tool because it provides so much information on the new varieties, what the opportunities are, what areas these crops are going to do well in. But there are other tools as well. We use one of the largest conferences in Alberta. We're a part of developing the programming for Farm Tech. Takes place in January every year. Making sure we're there, we're visible, we can answer questions, we can talk crops, we can provide you with a seed guide if you didn't get one in the mail, or if you want to have a few extra copies to distribute among family members. We're there for them. So that's probably the two biggest tools. Use of social media, taking in field days. These are all other ways that we can make sure we're connecting.
And connecting, I think, is the key. I think it feels like I spend a lion's share of my time talking about how we have to tell our story. And 5 years ago, we were talking about the idea that we have to tell our story, and now we're talking about how do I do it? Everyone understands they have to tell their story now, and they're over the fact that they don't really want to tell their story, but they have to. Now they know they want to, and they're telling their story. And I think that I've told the story before that I feel a smack in the back of my head from my dad when I start to talk about us or me or what we do really well, because I was taught that we don't talk about ourselves. We don't talk about ourselves, and now agriculture, and more specifically the seed industry, is being asked to talk about itself and tell its story. And I think that's a big role that you guys play in being able to tell that story.
Absolutely. There are more resources now, more than ever, to really capture what it is you want to say without bragging, because as Canadians we tend not to brag. We like to make fun of ourselves, and that's fine. That's part of the tool that you can use. Making sure that our directors, our membership, are engaged with social media, that we are putting out some information, but quality information, and not overdoing that connection, so that we just, it's them again. There got to be good, solid sound bites when we put information out from an organization standpoint. If we can encourage the members to take that up and distribute that information or comment on it, that's when you know you're getting somewhere. So to see traffic and activity and know that you're trending.
Hit that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. Can you think of 3 leadership qualities that you exhibit in your leadership role, and maybe how others might be able to cultivate those kinds of qualities as well?
When I started with the organization, it's a new board. I knew some of the board members, but very quickly I realized this is it's a safe culture. Everybody, there's no stupid questions, there's no stupid answers. There's a good relationship between the board members. You're safe to say what you want to say. It stays in the boardroom, and when we make a decision, that's the decision that holds, and that's what we speak to. And so I've taken that strategy, team building strategy, and developed that for not only within our organization and maintaining that, creating that safe environment, that element of trust, and move that to our organizations beyond ourselves. We are better together. I know it sounds kitschy, but it's true. The ability to work with the other crop commissions, government, the farmers in general at meetings, that trust that you can ask whatever question you want, and you're not going to, be raked over the coals because, well, you should know this. A lot of people don't know what Alberta seed growers are about, and we're happy to entertain those questions. So that's the biggest one. Encouraging others to contribute to the conversation. Some, especially newer board members, they're not really sure if they should be talking on behalf of the organization, but it does take that entire board table full of voices and opinions and perspectives. They come from varied backgrounds. We've got really experienced growers. We've got family members that have grown up in that environment. We've got some new directors that are brand new. We've got men, we've got women, we've got a really good diversity. And so making sure they all have at that comfort level to speak on behalf of the organization, but also to speak within. They're there as a representative. And so that, again, it's really a team building thing, is the knowledge that you have a voice and it matters to say something. Nice. And that starts in the boardroom, but it comes to meetings like this. We're at a national AGM. You are representing Alberta. Make sure that your voice is heard. Well said,
well said. And it's not an easy one to cultivate, but it is cultivatable.
Absolutely, and it takes the entire board, and I think between the president and the executive director, if things ever started to go sideways, they're the key to bring that back. But this is a really good group that we've got and that we've had over the years, and it's working really well.
Awesome, awesome.
The third thing, listen. And that's probably the toughest one. But it really is important when you are looking at building relationships within your organization, outside of your organization. If you don't hear the other perspectives, if you don't hear sometimes what you don't want to, there's no opportunity to find that common ground, and that's the basis of building relationships. So they're all connected, but all equally important.
Agreed. Could you just follow me around? As a professional talker, I could appreciate someone to tap me on the shoulder and remind me of that on a regular basis.
You don't, I have to work at that one. I'm right out there when it's like, oh, do you have an opinion? Yes.
Yes, I do.
Pick me.
As a matter of fact, I do. I do indeed.
It is a difficult, but I think it's a true test if you're really looking to elevate your communication ability. You will learn to listen.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well said. Kelly, always a pleasure to see you. Thanks very much for taking the time to sit down and have a chat.
I appreciate it, Shawn. It's great to talk to you.